Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on something we all experience every single day, but rarely stop to actually look at. We're going to break down the invisible mechanics of modern political communication. We'll explore how trust, political theater, and the entire attention economy have completely rewired how societies understand themselves. It's a huge topic, so let's just dive right in.
So you might be wondering, why does a single visit matter so much? To answer that, we're going to look at a highly publicized recent event. You might have seen it. British anti-establishment activist Tommy Robinson recently made a very controversial visit to Moscow. Now let's be clear, we aren't here to debate the politics or the morality of this specific trip. What we are doing is using it as a lens. Because honestly, this single visit serves as an absolute masterclass in modern political theater and digital symbolism. It really begs the question, how does a trip taken by one man become a massive global headline? Well, let's break down exactly how this works.
Section 1. The Moscow Stage. Geography as a Message.
If you want to understand modern influence, you have to look at the stark contrast between how power used to work and how it works today. Back in the 20th century, power was, well, physical and institutional. Great nations fought over coal fields, literal borders, and treaties. The flow of information was strictly controlled by traditional gatekeepers, your newspapers, your broadcasters, and parliaments. But in the 21st century, the digital landscape is entirely different. Today, power is all about perception, attention, and algorithms. In our current political environment, where you physically stand communicates a massive message long before you even open your mouth. A handshake in London means one thing, but a broadcast from Moscow during a period of intense geopolitical strain, that means quite another. Legitimacy doesn't just flow downwards from big institutions anymore, it flows sideways, right through our digital networks.
And that brings us to a really crucial point. Visibility has literally become one of the most valuable currencies in 21st century politics. Think about what this actually means for a second. The internet doesn't care if the engagement you generate is positive or negative. If supporters are sharing clips to praise someone and opponents are sharing those exact same clips to condemn them, the digital architecture registers the exact same thing: attention. The algorithm is entirely indifferent to the moral weight of the content, and you see this all the time. Every attempt to restrict or silence a controversial figure often just amplifies them, turning conflict into the absolute ultimate currency of visibility.
Section 2. The Battle for Attention. Algorithms and Outrage. Let's zoom out a bit to examine the invisible mathematical systems governing the phones in our pockets right now. Social media platforms are built from the ground up to maximize engagement, not civic virtue. And how exactly do they do that? Well, they reward certainty over curiosity. They prioritize speed over careful reflection, and they elevate confrontation because, let's face it, outrage keeps your eyes glued to the screen way longer than a nuanced debate ever could. This system naturally takes immensely complex, multifaceted international events and compresses them into tiny, simple slogans that fit on a phone screen. Ultimately, it turns every single political controversy into highly monetizable content. It's this wild, unintended alliance between modern technology and human tribalism.
So the crucial takeaway here is this: attention precedes persuasion. Political entrepreneurs instinctively know this rule. You simply cannot influence a population that never even notices you. Because of that, the goal isn't necessarily to be correct right out of the gate. The goal is to be completely impossible to ignore. In this crazy landscape, the greatest political actor of our age might not even be a politician at all. It might just be the algorithm itself.
Section 3. Amplifying existing cracks. The tactics of foreign influence. To really get this, we need a bit of historical context. We're looking at the old Soviet active measures playbook from the Cold War. The steps they used are fascinating. Deploy propaganda, cultivate sympathetic organizations, spread disinformation. But the real kicker is that final step. The ultimate goal of foreign influence was rarely to persuade Western citizens to suddenly become Marxist overnight. That's just unrealistic. The real goal was way more subtle: to systematically persuade citizens that their own governments and institutions were fundamentally broken, corrupt, and dishonest. Because if you can destroy a society's shared reality, you weaken it entirely from the inside out. And while the ideologies of the Cold War have changed, this underlying strategic logic absolutely has not disappeared. It's just evolved for the digital age.
There's a quote that perfectly illustrates how this plays out today. Water enters tiny fractures. Frost expands them. Eventually, gravity performs the remainder of the work. I mean, what a vivid metaphor. Modern foreign actors don't actually have to invent our domestic grievances. They aren't creating our heated debates over immigration or economic inequality or freedom of speech. Those cracks, they already exist. They are real and they are deeply felt by people. Foreign powers simply spot these fractures and pour water into them, using digital platforms to amplify the tension until a society just fractures itself.
Section 4. The Crisis of Trust. A society wrestling with itself.
Okay, we have to acknowledge something incredibly important here. The vulnerabilities we just talked about, a lot of them are completely self-inflicted. If you really want to understand why anti-establishment figures command such massive audiences today, you have to look at the objective drivers of declining institutional confidence over the last 20 years. We are talking about the lingering impacts of massive financial crises, highly controversial and expensive military interventions, huge political scandals, widening economic inequality, and repeated failures by experts to anticipate major world events. Citizens haven't just randomly woken up and decided to stop trusting parliaments, broadcasters, and experts. In many ways, these institutions have suffered a very real systemic erosion of their own credibility.
But here is where we walk a very, very dangerous line. There is a huge divide between a healthy democracy and a failing one. On one hand, we have healthy democratic habits, things like questioning institutions, rigorously checking facts, and considering multiple perspectives. This is vital. We need this. But on the other hand, we have corrosive cynicism. This is what happens when we start assuming that literally all institutions are inherently dishonest, when we retreat into hyper-tribal politics, and when we reject all established evidence just because it comes from a legacy source, when every disagreement is treated as bad faith, and when every complex issue is sorted into neat little camps of heroes and villains, we completely destroy the shared set of facts required for any society to even function.
Section 5. The Informational Competition. The Dawn of a New Era. We have officially entered an era of informational competition. This is the grand structural shift that events like the Moscow stage so brilliantly illustrate. You know, the 20th century was an age of ideological and territorial confrontation, but the 21st century? It's a geopolitical battle fought over credibility, over perception, and over the raw ability to shape how societies fundamentally understand themselves. The front line of this new battle isn't a distant border or some physical trench anymore. The front line is right there, glowing in the palm of your hand, on your smartphone.
Which leaves us with one final, absolutely critical question. How do we navigate a political age where trust is incredibly scarce, where attention is the ultimate currency, and where every carefully chosen backdrop is a potential global headline? Well, the answer lies with us. We are no longer just passive spectators in this digital ecosystem. We are all editors, broadcasters, and commentators now, and that gives us extraordinary power. We have the power to consciously choose critical thought over tribal simplicity. We have the power to pause, to reflect, and to demand nuance in a system that is quite literally designed to feed us outrage. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking questions, keep looking past the performance, and I will see you next time.